What happens when a child is told, "You're okay, stop crying, nothing happened," or "That's not a big deal," or even "You're fine, everything is okay"? On the surface, it seems harmless, comforting even. But what if in those moments something deeper is happening? When a child feels something big and that feeling doesn't have a place to land, it doesn't disappear. It gets stored. It gets pushed down and eventually it comes back up. Sometimes as a bigger reaction, sometimes as a shutdown, and other times as a behavior that feels confusing or disproportionate. Welcome back to Twos to Teens, Parenting Authentically Through the Seasons with Betty and Ellie. In our last episode, we explore how your relationship with emotions shapes your child's ability to regulate. And today, we're taking that one step further. What happens when we give our children permission to feel? Emotions are not just something to manage, they are messages from the body. They're constantly giving information about needs, boundaries, experiences, and what matters. And when a child doesn't feel safe expressing those emotions, they don't stop having them. They just learn to disconnect from them. And that disconnection can look like a lot of different things over time. It can look like tantrums, big, overwhelming waves of emotion that a child doesn't yet know how to move through or express. It can look like shutting down, people pleasing, or struggling to speak up in relationships. And it can look like ignoring their inner voice. And later, making choices that don't feel aligned with who they really are. When we teach children to suppress emotions, we are not just teaching them to behave, we're teaching them what to do with their inner world. We're teaching them whether their feelings matter, whether they're safe to express them, whether they'll be seen and understood. And when we begin to shift that, children begin to develop language for their experience. They begin to trust what they feel, and they begin to communicate more clearly. They begin to relate to others and themselves in a completely different way. So, in today's episode, we are exploring what it looks like to raise a child who feels safe to feel and how that shapes the way they move through the world. And because emotional expression isn't the problem, it's the pathway. And it starts with the permission we give. I'm Betty Arteaga Muriel, certified parent coach and founder of Your Parenting Story. I work with driven, high achieving parents who are thriving in their outer world but feel overwhelmed and disconnect at home. I guide them through surviving family life to leading their families with strength, compassion, and connection. And I'm so glad to be having this conversation alongside Ellie, who shares this passion for supporting parents in a deeper, more connected way. Ellie, do you want to tell everyone a little bit about you before we dive in?
Hi, I'm Ellie Knott, founder of Ellie Chase Coaching, and I help parents who are feeling really overwhelmed with all of the noise about what they feel like they should be doing, so they can raise their kids with more confidence, connection, and joy.
Last time, we talked about how the emotions and the way we relate to our emotions is basically the way that we are modeling or teaching our kids how to feel theirs. But I actually want to for us to like go in a little deeper into what it means to letting them feel those emotions. And the first part that we want to get into is we mentioned that this is a way for them to view or express their inner experience, their inner world with us.
Mhm.
How are we able to support kids to express and to kind of like learn their inner world?
Yeah, so the first thing again, starting with the previous episode, if you haven't listened to it yet, go back and start there. Is feeling our own emotions, right? And modeling them for our children so that they get to see what it looks like to feel and to express our emotions in a really healthy, balanced way. And as we do that, then we can start giving our children this permission to feel their emotions. And it might be inconvenient, right? They're not going to come at the perfect time. Um, but when those emotions start to come up, you recognize that. Like, you know that in your kid, you know when they're having a feeling and you see it start to rise. Instead of going into, oh no, how do I shut this down so that we can keep moving on with our day and we can get in the car and go do the things, right?
Mhm.
Instead, taking a pause and being like, okay, let me buckle up. We're getting on this ride right now.
Mhm.
And instead of reacting whatever the way you normally do, if that is to, tend to like rush through it or push it aside,
Mhm.
just pause and maybe do nothing for a second. Maybe just give a little bit of space, right? Or maybe ask your kid, how they're feeling, kind of prompt them, or give a little empathy guess of like, oh, are you feeling really sad that it's time to clean up your toys? Right? Whatever it is. You probably have an inkling. And you might be wrong, right? But you're still opening up this conversation and this dialogue, and letting them know that you care about what they're feeling.
I hear you, the part that you're giving them permission to feel and you're telling them the empathy guesses are, to me, critical. When we, especially with the little ones, as we start this emotional roller coaster with them, because we are providing them language, vocabulary to express what they're feeling. The feelings, the emotions are there. They are going to rise, but when they're little, they don't even know what that is. So we're introducing them when we do those empathy guesses, we're introducing them into the going inward and be like, what is it that I'm feeling right now? Where is this emotion going? What is it called? Right? The first time you feel something, you're like, what is this even called? And then you tell them, are you frustrated? Are you angry? Are you sad because this happened? And funny thing is that even when they don't have the right word to say them themselves, something in them settles when you actually guess correctly. It's an experience of being seen, heard, and understood, especially by the person that they trust the most, to be like, that helps them, like, yeah, I am feeling angry or I am feeling frustrated. It's that revelation to them that, oh, so this is what's happening with me. And staying with them. And I'll do here a little reminder for those who watched the other episode, or if not, go and watch it right now. We talked about the 90 seconds. Emotions only take 90 seconds to go through the body. Can you hold for 90 seconds? Can you pause with your kid for those 90 seconds? Even if you're counting in your head, even if you're counting backwards to give you a little extra time, like as you're breathing, even if that's the only thing you can do in the moment, can you hold still for them to fully express this? And then we're coming with that vocabulary, because then what starts to happening, what starts to shift, right? And we're gonna talk a little more about this because I have a good question for Ellie. But what starts to shift is, okay, so next time that these emotions start to rise up, then I can tell my caregiver, i'm I'm feeling sad. Sadness is coming, I feel it. And then this time, maybe this time they don't have to get themselves on the floor and kind of cry and go into shut mode for them to express it. They might be able to vocalize it. It happens little by little, but that's what we are creating. We're giving them the words to express. And Ellie, especially as a preschool teacher, and your experience, do you see or have you seen a difference between kids that are able to, like, kind of feel the emotions, and the ones that you may notice that are not too familiar or they become overwhelming?
For sure. I have experienced a lot of students who are very in tune with their emotions. And the interesting thing is that those are usually the kids who they love the calm corner that I would set up in our classroom. And when they start to feel those emotions, they would go to that calm corner because like they just want to be with themselves and feel their emotion. Um, and sometimes they would want some support from a teacher, but sometimes they would just want to be alone and like just be with it. And they would come back when they were ready. And, it wasn't that they were, I don't know, trying to get attention or trying to get out of doing an activity, right? They truly, like, they were going over there, they were sitting with their feelings, they weren't running away from them. And then once that passed, and for them, it might take a little bit longer, right? Maybe it took like a few minutes, maybe like 5 minutes, but then they come back when they're ready. And then they're usually able to talk about it after.
Mm,
And so the interesting thing is with the much younger children, the giving them the vocabulary and the feelings words is really important. However, their focus in that part of development is actually on the feeling part. It's on that physical body sensation. And so giving them the language helps them to be able to connect with us, right? And communicate about it. But they have to go through that body feeling. And when they do that first, then they're able, like you said, to kind of calm down and feel a little bit more relaxed. And then they can come and talk to me about it in a way that feels so advanced for like a 3 or a 4 year old. You're like, wow, you are so self aware. It's really incredible. But they can only do that if we give them that space, right? If they don't have the space to feel it and it just gets, again, pushed down, like we talked about in the last episode, then we're actually spending all of this energy trying to suppress it, and kids are way less able to do that than we are. It's not a healthy skill for anyone to do.
mm,
But that's why you're going to see a lot more of those like explosive behaviors come up with kids when they don't know how to express their emotions or how to feel their emotions. Right? Adults, we have a way bigger capacity to suppress it for longer, push it back, hold it down. It's still eventually going to come out. But for kids, that fuse is going to be a little bit shorter. So it's definitely very interesting to see that difference and then to see how kids can develop that as I even just teaching them that in school, right, throughout the year and seeing how that comes along. So it's definitely a skill that we're all craving as humans. And so when we have the opportunity for it, we're going to grab onto it, and we're going to, take it up. It might take us a little while to feel safe, but once we do, we're going to really lean into it naturally.
yes, Eliane, I like that you mentioned that this is a skill that we're developing just because I want to do like a little reminder that we are not expecting our kids to get it right all the time, even when they were able to get it right once or twice. Maybe they got it right 10 times. We're not expecting them to get it right every time because their experiences are like ours. We not always react to our emotions the same way or with the same intensity. It has to do with their capacity. Are they hungry? Are they sleepy? Are they, did they have a big day? Their capacity might be low. They just had so much exposure today or socialization, and their capacity goes low. So we are developing this skill. And I want us to all know that we are in this human experience together, and within the human experience comes we get perfection and we throw it away. Perfection doesn't exist, it's part of the human. And we allow our kids, we give them the grace to, when they get it right, we're there for them, and when they don't get it so right, we're also there for them. So let's talk about the moments when, even for the kids that we have been giving them this vocabulary, they're learning to express themselves, or the kids that have never been talked about emotions, they get sometimes these explosions called tantrums. We know them as tantrums, and they happen all the way to adulthood, right? But we see them more as they're younger. Their experience is these emotions and feelings and sensations that are overwhelming to the body, and they take over. Ellie, tantrums. I think this is the big one of the biggest things that parents are like, how do I stop my kids from having tantrum? And how does it even me acknowledging their emotions gonna do?
Yeah, yeah. So when you're seeing those tantrums, it is not a healthy, authentic expression of their emotions. This is an emotion that feels so big and so overwhelming to them that they physically cannot handle it. Their nervous systems are getting activated. Their whole body is overwhelmed, and they are just doing anything, like, just they're just doing anything, right? There's no logical reasoning to it, right? Their brains are not fully turned on. I teach a whole class about this. It's free. It's coming up again in June. So head to my website to check that out if you want to hear more specifically about the tantrums. But for now, I'll leave it at that. And I'll say, so, when we quote unquote let a child have a tantrum, it's not that we're letting them get away with things or letting them get what they want. We're letting them get that experience through their body, get that energy out of their body. And then as we start to help them come back down to safety, come back down to calm, then we can come in with the feelings words, with the communication, right? And that's where the teaching comes in, is after the tantrum, not in the middle of the tantrum. They're not going to hear you. It's probably going to escalate things, right? But once they're in that tantrum, it kind of has to play its course, right?
Mhm.
And there may be some things we can do to help them, and that just depends on the kid. It depends on the situation, on lots of things. But if you're doing something and it seems to be escalating the tantrum, maybe just back off
Mm.
and just let it run its course. Okay. And the tantrum, it might be 90 seconds, it might be a little longer, right? If it's happening for like crazy amounts of time, 20 minutes, right? 30 minutes, talk to your pediatrician. But a tantrum that lasts a few minutes is super normal, super developmentally appropriate. They just have to learn how to feel and experience these emotions and learn how to be able to handle it in their body and then communicate it afterwards.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
and I want to also mention this. Remember that they're kids, they're little, they are even as teenagers. Some of these emotions might be the first time that they feel it ever. Then and we might be now too grown to remember the first time that we felt happiness, or the first time that we felt frustrated. All right, we might be a little too old to remember when was the first time, but they are living that life right now. So in a sense, sometimes we are like, what happened? And I we get this a lot, right? Blue cup versus red cup, which cup did you want? And then you gave them the wrong cup, and the world has ended, and that was it, and we have a big tantrum. And to us it seems so small, even ridiculous, like toddlers, and it's like this ridiculousness of, but it's just a cup. But to them, the emotion might not even be something that they felt before. The first time that they hear a no, the first time that they feel disappointment is a big feeling even for adults. So we allow them the grace to, yes, this is very hard, yes, you are making a scene right now in sometimes, and this feels big, but you're not trying to make me have a hard time. You are having a big moment trying to sort all of these emotions that are in your little body, that you not know no have no idea how to hold them, how to be with them. So just bringing in, right, that the tantrums are not just for the kids, are not just trying to make us have a hard time at the supermarket. They are just going through all of this emotions and feelings that they might have not even felt before. And it is sometimes scary, and it becomes more scary when I don't know why I'm feeling all of this and I have to take it out, and then my caregiver is screaming at me to stop, and I don't even know how it started. How do I stop it?
Yeah.
right? So giving, bringing in that little light of, they they can't stop it because they don't even know when, how, why it started. Sometimes they don't even know what's happening.
That's such a great reminder, and I think we all need to hear that every once in a while because it is so easy just to forget what that experience is like for our children. And like you said, a lot of us probably don't even remember what that felt like as children. So it's good to have that point of view. And I want to talk a little bit more about how this turns out as our children are developing and they're getting a little bit older, right? And they've grown up with you giving them permission to feel their emotions. Like we talked about in the previous episode, emotions are communicators. They send messages from our inner voice, right? From that gut feeling. And so when our children aren't always in the habit of like pushing those emotions down, not listening, they are connected to their inner voice. So when they come up against situations that get a little bit challenging, right, as they get maybe in that older elementary school, middle school, high school years, and their friends have an idea and they say, "Hey, let's go," whatever it is, and it's not such a great idea, but they are connected to that inner voice that tells them, I don't want to do this,
Hmm.
right? And they have enough practice with you to know that they get to feel their feelings and they get to express how they feel, right? And so they are going to be way more confident. And again, it might not happen immediately, right? It's still going to take practice in these new situations, but they are going to be way more prepared to speak up and say, I feel really uncomfortable with this. I don't think I want to do that with you,
Hmm.
right? And these are the things that we all hope that our children are able to do when they get in those sticky situations. And I know I'll speak from personal experience that I have spent many of my adult years reconnecting to my inner voice. I was very shut off from it as a child. And so I definitely have moments that I think back on where I'm like, oh my goodness, what was I thinking? Why did I make that choice? And I'm so glad that nothing bad happened because it definitely could have. Right? I put myself in bad situations because I couldn't hear that voice inside of me. I was looking outside, I was doubting myself, and so I wasn't making good choices. And now that I have worked to reconnect myself to that inner voice, I can hear it and I know what is the right choice to make for me. Right? Um, and that's something that I want for my kids, right? I want to make sure that they are always connected to that inner voice and that they have the wherewithal and just that authenticity to be able to make those choices that feel in alignment and feel right for them, so they don't have to go through so many
Yeah.
situations like I did, right?
Yeah, I can definitely. I'm there with you, Ellie. I was a high risk taker teen, and my mom will have lots to say about that. But I was not an easy child, and most of my risky behavior became from the fact that is everybody else was doing it, and nobody else felt nervous or said that they were nervous or that they were doubting themselves. Then I feel like then I'm the weird kid that if I say something, then I'm wrong because I'm not trusting this that I'm feeling. This doubt that I'm feeling, is it doubt? Is it nervous at night? We push them. No, okay. We don't need you right now because everybody else is gonna be doing this thing and I don't want to miss out on that. uh,
Mhm.
and that, like Ellie mentioned, that puts our kids in situations that we might not want them in, and we spend a lot of time pouring into them and hoping that when they go out into the world that they behave how we taught them to behave, without knowing that teaching them emotional intelligence is the key for them to go out in the world and be authentically themselves and hold those values that we have that we have poured into them.
Mhm.
So one of the things that I will say is, in the capacity that your kids are able to feel all of their emotions, they won't be so afraid of other people feeling them too. and this is where I'm going. If I'm able to feel rejection and know that it's an uncomfortable feeling, but I can get over it, I'm able to tell my friend, no, I don't want to do that, because I also know that they can survive the emotion. Our kids, especially our older kids, do a lot of things not only to avoid their own emotions, but to avoid putting those emotions into somebody else. They don't want to disappoint their friends. They don't want them to feel rejected. They don't want to make them sad, right? Because it doesn't feel good on me. So I don't want them to feel that way. And they go to great length. That's where the people pleasing comes from. They will go to great length to avoid their friends, the people that they care about, feel those emotions. And that can also come from us not allowing them to feel them, right? Because I love you, so I don't want you to be sad. And every time that you're sad, I come to the rescue. So I learned that if my friend is sad, then I have to do what is gonna make them happy because it's not safe. So this is a relational experience. Is the modeling? Yes. Is the am I able to feel this emotion with my caregiver? Am I able to feel this emotion with my peers? Am I able to allow the people around me to also feel their emotions? It all comes together, and it is, like Ellie mentioned, what becomes the voice. And we want that voice to be a confident, authentic voice that is expressing our inner world.
You explained that so beautifully. Um, we are going to wrap up this episode because the next one is going to be even better. For right now, I would love it if you comment down below and let us know, what is the emotional intelligence legacy that you want to leave for your children? And in the next episode, we are going to be addressing a fear that I think probably a lot of you were thinking about as you listen to this, of, okay, all of this is great, right? I want my kids to be able to listen to their inner voice. This sounds great for the future. But what about right now? How do I let my kids feel their feelings without them taking over and becoming the star of the show, right? And taking over the whole day. So we are going to get into that, and we're going to help you learn how to find balance there. But before we go, Betty, how can parents find you if they want to work with you?
Yes, if today's conversation resonated with you and you're feeling that pull to grow in the way you show up in your parenting, I love to connect with you. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at your_parenting_story, where I share tools, reflections, and resources for the driven parents who want their parenting to reflect both fierce leadership and compassion. You can also visit yourparentingstory.com for resources, more information about my work, and to schedule a free curiosity call where we can explore what's coming up in your parenting and what support might look like for you. And if you'd rather reach out directly, you can always email me at coachbetty@yourparentingstory.com. I love to hear from you guys. What about to get in contact with you, Ellie?
Yeah, if parents are ready to start making some of these changes, and they want some support and guidance as they figure out how they actually want to parent, and how to really do it, then you can head to my website, elliechasecoaching.com. Over there, you can schedule a free curiosity call so we can get to know each other, and I can tell you a little bit about how we could work together. You can also sign up for my newsletter where you can get little parenting tidbits, content, and also information about free classes. Like I told you before, I have a whole class coming in June, again, all about the nervous system and how big emotions and tantrums and how it's all intertwined. So make sure you sign up for the newsletter, or you can also connect on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube at elliechasecoaching.com. Until next time, remember, from twos to teens, wherever you are, you've got this.